trying to my intensity is good, right? And what I realized is I was identifying with it. And I realized I didn't have to identify with it. And I think so many times we could see something in our life that I don't know that we know what to make of it or not sometimes. And then we can find ourselves in the place where we're trying to prove that we're good, but we're trying to prove we're good through this thing, right? Like we're trying to establish that this thing is good, and thereby establishing that this thing is good, we're good also, right? And I think that causes a big, gigantic problem in relationships and inside of people. It leads to self-justification, where you're trying to be justified through something that's manifesting externally in you. That's right.
Yeah.
And that gets people against each other. It gets people fighting with each other. It keeps people from being able to love one another. And also just it can leave you stuck in something. That most people wouldn't say intensity is a sin or bondage, but rather let us just walk with God without judging ourselves by anything other than I'm his beloved son or daughter in whom he's well pleased. And let us just see what life gives birth to in us. Right? Because in the day, I find that I can, by the grace of God, sit in front of people and not get all animated. Glory to God. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be in the place where I come and think that I must now be intense everywhere I go because it's who I am.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not that the intensity is evil, but rather what I found myself doing, instead of labeling myself any of these things, because I noticed the other day where I was well, I could be very introverted, where, I could go be in a cave and be alone, and I don't know that I would say I was exuberant about it, but I could definitely get by, right? And so then I started thinking about, well, am I introverted? And then I was like, no, I'm not, because I'm very gregarious. And I also love being around the people. And so I just started seeing that when we define ourselves by these little idiosyncrasies, it's like we're putting ourselves in a cage, right? And we're putting a cap on what God's life might bring forth in us in a number of different places. And so what I reserve myself to is, I'm not going to define myself as intense anymore, because there could come a day where the life of God does something in me where I'm much less animated for some reason, whatever reason. And I don't want to now feel negative about that. So I'm just going to walk with God, and we'll see what God's life gives birth to in me, and it'll just be that way.
Sure.
But your intensity is very often, almost always, about your relationship with God or something that you see in other people's relationship with God.